United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda are the Board of Education norms, which are available in board docs. And the next item is the MSBA monthly report.
Welcome to the December edition of the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report. 2024 marked another year of AI continuing to transform classrooms. Over the past year, AI has become more than just a buzzword. It has become an integral part of the learning experience in many of our schools. Teachers are harnessing AI-powered tools to personalize education, tailoring lessons to meet each student's unique needs. In October, the Raymore Peculiar School District hosted an AI and Innovation Summit designed for educators, administrators, and tech enthusiasts to discover the latest advancements in AI for education and to explore practical applications. Raymore Peculiar Board President and MSBA immediate past President Ruth Johnson said that artificial intelligence is a topic that school boards need to address.
Well, we need to care because whether we like it or not, AI is here. It's been here. So how can we best utilize it as a tool with our teachers to help educate the students at all levels?
Emily Craig is an English teacher at Ray-Pec High School, and she says that having students involved in the process of integrating and questioning AI tools is an example of real-world learning that can help them in future careers.
You know, we always talk about what are those invaluables, those skills that students are going to need no matter what they're doing. And AI, real world learning, soft skills, all of those are going to be like how to manage and adapt are all going to be skills that kids are going to need no matter what they're doing. And so I think teaching them tools, learning how to question tools and also like embrace them, but also critique them in that process is going to be a lifelong skill no matter what they're doing.
Raymore Peculiar High School Assistant Principal Stephen Meek says that AI is a disruptor in education, but in a positive way.
We're always looking for disruptors, whether we want to believe it or not. We're always looking for disruptors in education to figure out how can we disrupt the classic, traditional education that has been going on in schools for the last 20, 30, 40 years. And I really hope that AI is going to be that disruptor so we can say, okay, let's stop doing this learning that we can easily create through AI, and let's start moving it to, things that like much more project-based, much more learning that students are going to need for the 21st, in the 21st century. Let's start figuring out like those types of things that makes learning more engaging, more fun, and we move away from that rote memorization.
During MSBA's AI Symposium, held in conjunction with the MSBA Annual Conference in Kansas City, students had a chance to speak to the audience about the ways that they use AI during a panel discussion. They stressed the real-world applications of AI and how schools can help prepare students.
I think that in the world we're going to live in the future, AI is going to be a huge part of that. So by outright saying it's cheating and allowing no AI, we're doing a disservice to our students, and we're almost handicapping them for the future. I do think that there is a line though where cheating can be seen, but that can be very, very much kind of minimized through changing your curriculum a little bit to like integrate AI and generative AI into it, or changing almost the assignments you're asking or what you're necessarily testing on, so that it's harder to use AI as an end-all be-all answer, and AI is less of I'll just plug in and get 100, and more of I'll use AI to help me get towards that answer, get towards my finished product.
If it was up to me, I think AI should be used regularly, because in the real world you're going to use AI, and AI is already used in so much stuff. It's not like it's just going to randomly be deleted, because it's basically used for almost anything and everything nowadays.
With new information coming out seemingly daily, it's difficult to stay on top of a topic as complex as artificial intelligence. MSBA is here to help. From beginner to advanced, MSBA's AI Toolkit for K-12 education is a great resource for topics ranging from AI policies and procedures and security concerns to ethics and equity. The toolkit is available on the MSBA website and is updated often. If you're still feeling unsure about the emergence of artificial intelligence or not sure where to start, MSBA has a webinar for you coming soon. The webinar is titled AI in Education, What School Leaders Need to Know, and it's being held Monday, January 13th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. MSBA's AI team will provide a balanced approach to the subject, highlighting both the positive and negative aspects of AI. The webinar is free for MSBA member districts. When you register for the webinar, make sure to submit questions and topics that you would like to see addressed. And as we head into 2025, make sure to mark your calendar for MSBA's Advocacy Day on March 11th, Summer Summit June 16th through the 18th, and the 2025 MSBA Annual Conference October 23rd through the 25th. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thank you for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and thank you for your dedication and the amazing work that you've done throughout all of 2024. We'll see you in January 2025 for the next MSBA Board Report.
Next is the consent agenda.
I will move to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is public participation. Board members and administrators will listen to concerns and will respond when appropriate by mail or telephone at a later date. In order to speak during public participation, a public comment form must be filled out and submitted to the board president prior to the beginning of the meeting. Per policy BDDH-1, public participation at board meetings, the following rules will apply to the public comment portion of the meeting. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once during this period. Each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. Discussion will be limited to items from the posted agenda. All speakers must provide their name and address prior to speaking. If there is insufficient time for everyone to speak, the board will encourage participants to submit their questions in writing or utilize the process for putting an item on the agenda. I do not have any public comment cards. Nor do I. Thank you, sir. Next is the report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
First on my report is the annual school board election. The election is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. We have 2 terms expiring. Mrs. Jamie Blue and Mr. Josh Gettinger. Filing location will, as always, be district office at 375 North 5th Street. Filing dates, it opened the 10th and it ends December 31st at 5 p.m. Chrissy is going to get to go home early that day, and I'm going to have to stay on New Year's Eve until 5 p.m. To keep doors open so that any late people can file. Filing will not occur on December 24th from 12 to 4, December 25th, or December 26th, and any days the district is closed due to inclement weather. Kindergarten registration, Saturday, March 1st for St. Genevieve Elementary School from 8 to 2. Saturday, March 15th for Bloomsdale Elementary School from 8 to 1. Starting Monday, February 3rd, they will begin taking appointments for kindergarten registration. This evening, since the school board made a commitment to our students in supporting our teachers, our administration, and the students in need in adding some tiered programming, we thought it was a good time in December to see how it's going first semester. So I had an update from these ladies probably about a month ago. Asked them if they would be willing to come to the board meeting and give you all an update on the programming and how it's going. So they're here to present this evening. If you all want to stand up and work your way to the microphone. I think there's a link there, Lance.
On each
whole
person,
thing.
or, okay.
Click on it. So we have Miss Stephanie Sulzer. Sorry, I've done that 5 times. Sorry. Stephanie Ram, she's Tier 2 at Bloomsdale Elementary. We have Mrs. Megan Williams, she's Tier 2 at St. Jen Elementary. And we have Miss Jennifer Est, she's Tier 3 at St. Jen Elementary.
Okay. At Bloomsdale, we kind of use the reflection room for breaks. That might be scheduled breaks, could be unscheduled breaks, soft starts, things like that. Intervention groups for social emotional learning. We do have some scaffolded schedule supports, which is our way of trying to support the kids within our building before we look at Tier 3 as an option. And I currently have 2 of those kiddos, one of which just transitioned back to the classroom full-time, so that's really exciting. We also use it for check-in, check-out with kiddos, positive reinforcement. I kind of take on setting those boundaries and then reinforcing them whether positively or negative with those kids, so it kind of takes some of that pressure off the classroom teachers. I also take care of the ISS students. It's a quiet space for kiddos to come in and complete work and testing if they are behind. And then Ms. Huck and I also work together to have all of the Tier 2 behavior kids, whether they have an IEP or not. We do a lunch bunch on Mondays. So we alternate grade levels depending on the week. At a glance, I have 14 general education students that are currently Tier 2, 3 special education students that also utilize my room for breaks. I also provide support whenever they might have issues outside of my classroom, whether it's with Ms. Huck if she needs support, or if it's in the general education classroom and Ms. Huck's not able to get there. In September, you can see the numbers kind of grew as the program was beginning and new in the beginning. We still had 125 hours and 32 minutes of use with 252 visits or breaks, 22 visitors. October, 231 hours and 21 minutes, 260 breaks and 25 visitors, and then November, 336 hours, 24 minutes with 480 visits or breaks and 25 visitors. Keeping in mind that some of those increased so much because we do have, I did have the students who, on the scaffolded schedule, and ISS also, because that would be for the full day. Some positive notes, we have students who have been struggling socially, are making connections with their peers now, and whenever they have free time or they've earned it, they are requesting to spend that time with each other instead of preferring to be alone or just have that adult company like they would before. I've had several of the special area teachers comment to me that kids that have been having these behaviors for years are now able to sit through a whole special class without needing support or having to do a radio call or things like that in order to participate. Students are becoming more successful at self-managing behaviors during unstructured times like lunch, recess, and in those special classes. Improved classroom behavior overall, less disruptions for the teachers, or for the whole classroom, because whenever, like prior, we got a radio call and a child was destroying a room or was escalating, the rest of the class would have to evacuate, and like all of that learning was lost, and now we're able to either de-escalate the student quickly or remove them from the room, take them to a safe space so learning can continue in the classroom. And then ISS practices are consistent and immediate, which is ultimately more effective, where before you wanted to assign a child to ISS, it might be 2-3 days before they could get a sub in there to work with those kids. And even then it was one-on-one attention because you didn't have someone in there who was trained on behavior, so sometimes that was more reinforcing than it was trying to curb the behavior. Like I said, those tiered, the scaffolded scheduled students, some of those kids wouldn't be able to be at school if it wasn't for the tiered programs. Teachers have an additional resource with Kara and Jesse not being at Bloomsdale, but once a week each because they're so needed in town. I've been able to provide extra support to the teachers whenever they need resources and things like that, so that the help is more immediate versus having to wait an entire week. And I stay in very close contact with Kara and Jesse so that we're all on the same page as I provide suggestions and things like that. And in general, we have fewer discipline referrals for our Tier 2 students because they're having that safe space to decompress. Rather than escalating in the classroom and acting out, they can ask for a break, ask to come to my room and calm down in there. I didn't really know what kind of data you guys wanted to see, but one of the main things that was important for me to see in the beginning was, are those escalations in the classroom or the reason that is that decreasing? And it is, so the escalation, visits for escalations are decreasing while the requested breaks or scheduled breaks are increasing, which is what we want to see, that they're able to ask for those breaks and use them. I had a couple of kiddos. One, it has helped me calm down. I know I can come here when I'm feeling mad, sad, because of the reflection room, I can make it through the year. Miss Ram and the reflection room have helped me be calm and happy. I have a place where I can talk when I'm having a rough day. And I like the reflection room because I can take breaks to move and calm down when I'm angry or frustrated. And then I talked to several of the teachers that I provide support to, them and their kiddo. I try not to just provide that support to the student, but to that teacher as well to support them moving forward. And I can read those to you, or you just a moment to read them. I feel like I'm reading to you guys, and you're all. I do want to point out that one of the things that Ms. Heverly pointed out was the connection that the students have with each other within the Tier 2 room. It's so neat to see whenever one student is escalated or having a rough time, the other students like encouraging them to use their strategies or trying to offer them, here, try this, or you try this, or you can still turn your day around. So it's really neat to see those kids kind of accepting that that behavior is, you know, they're not being ostracized for it, and they're like helping them to work through it. So. You guys have any questions about how anything specific with the room at Bloomsdale, program at Bloomsdale?
You want to let Megan get through hers? Sure. Since hers is Tier 2 as well,
Sure.
and then we'll.
Hey, good evening. I'm Megan Williams. I'm the reflection room or Tier 2 teacher at St. John. So very similar to Bloomsdale, our room is utilized and set up the exact same way. So our students also utilize breaks. They go through a Super C break, which is basically we're trying to charge their heart, get the movement going, and then they go to a calming corner and then kind of get their heart rate back down and get regulated, and then we check in with them, and then once they're ready to learn, we send them back to class. Some of those are scheduled breaks, some of them students request, and then some of them are earned breaks. We also do soft starts, where kiddos just have some difficulty transitioning in the mornings to school. They can start their mornings with us in my room, and then kind of get them in a good space before we send them to class as well. Check-in and check-outs, positive reinforcements, some SEL lessons as far as like working on some impulse control with some of our kiddos, anger management a little bit, ISS, and then also a quiet place to complete work if needed. There's some pictures of them in action. So our data, so we currently have 18 students who are identified as Tier 2. Our hours of use also went up. So 175 hours, 36 minutes in September, 291 breaks in September, and then 25 visitors. October was 338 hours and 50 minutes, 299 visits or breaks, and then 29 visitors, And then November, 383 hours, 12 minutes, 403 breaks, and then 36 visitors as well. So these are kind of long, but these are like our success stories of kiddos who have really done well with this program. So one student who was eloping frequently at the beginning of the year has not actually eloped from the classroom since the 3rd week of school, and she's actually earned lunch with me multiple times now. So we have a reward system set up with her, and she's gotten to do that a couple times, so proud of her for that. We had one student who was really struggling with attention in class at the beginning of the year and was becoming a major distraction to his peers. He now has 2 scheduled breaks with me during the day, and his teacher consistently brags on him now every time I go pick him up. And he was actually just named Student of the Month last month with his teacher, saying that he has been way more engaged and way more respectful. A student who was in ISS pretty frequently at the beginning of the year has also began utilizing breaks in the reflection room and has only been in ISS once the past 6 weeks. She has also been able to better vocalize her emotions when she is upset and able to communicate her needs. Another ISS student who was a pretty frequent flyer to the ISS room, beginning of the year, 7 days from the start of school until the middle of October. He began utilizing the reflection room for earned breaks, and he has only had 1 day where he hasn't earned a break since then, so he also earned Student of the Month last month as well. A student who has had trouble coming into school and had many frequent escalations while at school has shown great improvements utilizing the reflection room. He typically only has 1 rough morning a week, instead of it used to be 4 or 5 rough mornings where we have to really have a hard time getting him into school. So Mom has also stated that he's had great behavior improvements at home as well. One student was struggling with a conflict with a classmate at the beginning of the year, and they were not allowed to be by each other at all. So they were both in the reflection room, and after a teacher-led discussion, both students were able to discuss the differences and communicate their feelings, and they're actually friends now, and they hug regularly every time they see each other in the hallway. So we call that a big win. And then another student at the beginning of the year was having frequent escalations during the week. Now the student consistently earns all of his breaks in his reward chart and earns time in the reflection room at the end of the day. This typically happens almost every day of the week, 4 or 5 days a week. Our data, I did the same thing that Steph did with her data, and it looks pretty similar. So the requested scheduled breaks are going up, and our escalation breaks are going down. This is what some of our kiddos said. I can give you guys some time to read them too. Those are pretty small. Sorry.
I was going to say,
sorry.
I can't hardly do
You may have to pick one and read it.
Okay, I'll just read a couple. I like that it is quiet and I feel happy in here. I also like to get to talk to you because you listen to me and make me feel more calm. The room makes me feel good because I get to move my body and not feel so stressed. I get to rest in the calming corner and feel relaxed and happy. My mind feels at rest in here because it is so quiet. I get to finish my work in here because my mind isn't stressed like it is in class. I love everything about this room. I feel so excited in here and I love being here. I don't ever want to leave. I've done a lot better this year because it is so cozy and calm in here.
That's awesome.
I feel tired and worn out from doing my work when I walk in, but when I come out, I feel relaxed and it takes my mind off my work. I love doing my body on the trampoline a lot in the emotions chart. And then I get to come in here in the morning and this room makes me calm down easier and be very happy in the morning.
That's awesome.
And there's my staff input as well. That's kind of small too.
I see the principals smiling as you're talking,
Yes.
both of you, so that's,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's good staff input.
You know, just to know that they are excited about coming to school now when all this stuff was going on before they came, and now that's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jenny Aston. I'm the teacher in the Ames room or the Tier 3 room. So my students are the highest support needs, both from Winsdale and from St. John Elementary. I decided to include the mission statements in here because I was really excited that this was such a big thing in St. John, because I've always had a personal mission statement each year. And then for my classroom, there was a lot of prompting at the beginning of the year, but the kids did essentially create this with me. But the most important thing I feel like in our mission statement is in this classroom we are a family, and that's the culture that I try to create within the room. So Ames rooms by numbers, we started the year with 4 students. At the beginning of next semester, we will have 8 students. 3 students who have began to transition out of the classroom into their specials, lunch, recess, academics, and different things with their peers. concern with NWEA testing was 8. So I feel like that's a pretty big deal because they had trouble getting tested in the past due to behaviors, and we were able to test both times and show improvement with the academics. And the last one says 3, but I actually get to add 4 positive office referrals from the students in the Ames room.
That's great.
So this is the data that just shows that the students' behaviors are improving within the classroom. So some students have individual behavior data that we take, but my overall system is you earn a happy face before lunch and a happy face after lunch. If they get 2 happy faces at the end of the day, they get a sticker, and then depending on how many stickers depends on what their reward is. But this shows a student that has been with us since the beginning of the school year and a student that came into my room pretty recently, and both are trending up. So obviously, social emotional learning is a big deal in the classroom. We don't just do like a social emotional curriculum or anything like that. I try to include it as much as I can throughout the day. Every day in our morning meeting, we have a breath of the week, a weekly emotion, a weekly character trait. We also do a bud and thorn each morning. So the students will share a thorn, which is something that might be bothering them, and we'll talk about how they can solve that problem, and sometimes we even discuss, is that problem something that is in your circle of control, and they're able to say whether that's something that they can control or not. And then we do a rosebud, just to keep things positive, because I feel like there's always something positive in each day, and I do try to help them come up with one if they say, oh, I don't know. Like, I always try to have something positive that they can say. I recently started doing movement breaks. I kind of have this set up like a circa early 2000s curves for movement. And so they have like each station and they're timed there for, I tried 5 minutes, but that was too long. 4 minutes feels like the sweet spot. But there's a trampoline, a swing, there's a bicycle pedal, and then in this corner, there's a poster with different yoga exercises and breathing exercises. And then at the end of every day, we all have classroom jobs that we do. So essentially, my classroom should be the cleanest classroom ever. I do have ADHD, so. And success stories, one student started the school year attending school half days. This student is now attending all day and has began transitioning out of the classroom. On the first day of school, I met one of my students in an escalated state and hiding under items in the lobby, refusing to come to the classroom. This student has improved tremendously and has now transitioned outside of the Ames room for the majority of his day. A student who had previously had escalations that lasted for hours has now learned to identify and regulate emotions, and escalations now typically last a few minutes or less. A few students started the year unable to identify all 26 letters of the alphabet. These students now take turns leading our daily phonics drills and have began reading. Students are able to learn valuable social skills, working and playing together in the classroom. This has allowed them to be able to attend special events such as field trips and assemblies. So the student input, I asked my students, what has helped you about being in this room? And some of them gave me compliments for myself, and I just took it because I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to argue with that. And as I read these, you can kind of hear and see the different age levels and emotional maturity levels that we have in our room, because it's quite a varying degree. So a third grader said, I'm better with my anger by using breaths and asking for breaks when I need one. Another third grader said, people care about me and let me talk to them. I'm better at using my words when I'm upset. A second grader said, "The small room allows me to be more social. I'm more comfortable being social." I promise you, word for word, that is what was said. He really talks like that. And then a first grader said, "You teach me a lot of stuff, and it's fun." Another first grader said, "I learned how to calm down by taking deep breaths and asking for hugs." And this is gonna be my favorite one. I had a second grader, and he said, "You really care about us, and you understand me."
Oh,
So this is some more pictures in the classroom, our daily phonics drill, math, using Uno cards so they don't really know that they're learning. Another math game, and then writing as
Thank you all.
oh,
Do you all have
yeah.
any questions?
Thank you. We're so blessed to have teachers like you guys.
When they transition out of tier 3, do they go down to tier 2 or just going back straight to the classroom?
They'll still have supports, whether, I mean, if they've built a connection with me, they can still come to my room, you know, but they can still have scheduled breaks in Megan's room as well.
Cool.
And Jenny, I know you said, but I missed it. How many students do you have?
Right now we have 6. At the beginning of the semester, we'll have 8.
Okay.
And that's not all day. Like I said, there's quite a few of them that are going to be able to start transitioning out more and more.
Elementary principals or assistant principals, do you all have anything you would like to add?
I can't say enough good things about it, and I appreciate the support from you guys, because without these girls, I mean, we have seen an increase in instruction going on in the classroom that previously was just taken because of the disruptions and dysregulated students. So I can't say enough good things about all 3 of them. So very much appreciated.
I feel like all the parts working together are giving us the missing piece that we were missing for our students, because some of them just need to get re-regulated and back into class, and some need a higher level of support. But even with the higher level of support, there are opportunities for them to earn their way back out, and you know, they're not stuck there, and that's the goal. And so these guys are amazing.
Yeah,
So thanks also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say, I like that they're getting to come back out and going back into classrooms regularly. That's wonderful to hear.
I don't know, I know last year the program was presented to us, and I don't know who all put effort into it. I know you did, Steph, but thank you all
Yes.
very much for
They painted a pretty rosy picture. I do want to talk a bit about the challenges that still exist regarding behavior in our buildings. Having wonderful instructors such as these there with their expertise to not only support the students, but be able to talk a teacher through that behavior and what that means. I know I was out with Steph Ram from last year at Bloomsdale when a behavior was going on, and just watching her work with that student taught me a lot about the feelings I have inside me when something like that happens, and I think we underestimate their ability to manage themselves in an escalated situation. So I want to give them kudos. They do a fantastic job with their kids.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And now on to principals' reports.
Merry Christmas, good evening. I wanted to start off this first slide and highlight some of the things that our students are doing in the building, things that are not always academic in nature, but just things that our students get to experience. The first one at the top left is a collaboration with the high school Dragon Prince. Caitlin Crump's class, she said it's her marketing productions class, but their business name is Dragon Prince. So the top 2 pictures there on the left, Haley Schnitzler's art group has collaborated with them on making buttons, and in these 2 pictures they actually designed their own mouse pads, and then they went over and Miss Crump's students printed them for them, so each student came away with a mouse pad. Right there in the middle, the St. Genevieve Elementary Dragon shirt. Ms. Crump's Dragon Prince class made those. We gave those to our faculty and staff for their Christmas gifts today. So I wanted to give her a shout out for everything that her class is doing to collaborate with us. In the top right, we have some makerspace opportunities during our power hour on Wednesday afternoons. Teachers like to incorporate some STEM things, including makerspace. So those are just some of our littles doing makerspace. At the bottom, we have BBOT's coding. This is Mrs. Viox's second grade class. They started with an online BBOT simulation, learning the coding basics, and then they applied those skills by programming the little BBOTs to navigate a path and reach the finish line. And then next on their journey is to plan and design and build tracks for their BBOTs to follow, and that adds creativity and problem solving along with that basic coding. So I think it's pretty neat that they're doing that already at the second grade level. Oh, one more. And the bottom left is Balloons Over Broadway. Our fifth grade kind of does this every year right before Thanksgiving. It kind of emulates the beginning of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So the students get to express their creativity making these balloon, I don't even know what you want to call them, balloon masterpieces, yes. And then they parade through the school with them. Thank you, guys. Okay, next slide. All right, this is a wide variety of things again. On the top left, we started our second quarter Power Leader sign delivery. The teachers began last week, and they'll run over the course of Christmas break, just whatever works for them and their teams to deliver. We did not do the trolley this time. Mary had just had a baby, and that was a little bit much to ask her to find a sitter to drive a trolley for us, so we opted to do it differently. The next picture next to that is Miss Sarah Roth's second grade class. If you know Sarah, she's really into giving and philanthropy, so she wanted to instill that into her students. So they decided to do a drive for the local nursing homes to collect items, and they're collecting through the rest of this week, and then they're going to present those items to the nursing home. So I thought that was a great way for them to learn to give rather than to just receive. And then, Sarah does amazing things with her students, and she also wanted to give her students a Thanksgiving feast. So rather than the students going to the cafeteria on that day, she set up her classroom, and they all enjoyed a feast in her classroom. On the top right there, Mr. Kingery and I are meeting with our 3 top fundraiser sellers, Elliot Bruthold, Gwen Cox, and Mason Hilbert. We bought them McDonald's because they sold like crazy for our school, and those funds go straight back to our students. And then in the bottom left, we have Audra Kingery and Jess Grimminger, our 2 guidance counselors, and they are pictured with some of our Power Council students. They did a Shop with a Cop PJ Day, and we were able to present them with a check for $677.15. So again, teaching those students how to give to charitable causes. And then in the bottom right, I just wanted to give a shout out to our PTO. Mr. Bova contacted me earlier in the month and said, hey, did you know that this is the 100th year of PTA? A couple of years ago, we transitioned to PTO, but it's still the same type of organization. And I don't know, Mr. Bova, was this an actual article from?
Yes, and I have to give credit to Bob Mueller. If you don't know Bob, he's a local historian. He sent it to me. I sent it to you.
So
yes,
it was from 1924, correct?
Correct. That was in the St. John Herald or Fair Play 100 years ago. Yeah.
And so in true PTO tradition, we wanted to celebrate them, but they in turn celebrated our students by bringing every student a cookie. And then so some of our students have made cards and posters and things that I'll present to them at the January meeting. So that was pretty fun. All right, this is just an all things Christmas slide. We had the Grinchy Green dress up day, gingerbread houses, PJ Day, a visit from Santa Claus. I kind of know him personally, so we got to take a picture with him. And then down in the bottom, yesterday we had a faculty meeting, and it's kind of a little joke at St. Genevieve Elementary. We've had to move our offices a couple of times, and every time we do, around Christmas time, we play a little gift-giving exchange game with all of our office things, and the rule was that nothing could make its way back to the office, but it was good fun for everyone. And this is our positive office referral slide that Mr. Kingery puts together for us. He's way techier than I am. Isaiah Baker, Grayson Elders, Gwen Cox, Grayson Lilly, Leah Mills, Kinsey Davis, Kennedy Ritter, Keegan Apt, Cohen Grass, Carter Brown, Carson Sanford, Annabella Geck, Adelaide Apps, Judah Kingery, and Alec Kwan. And that's it. We had quite a few, but not as many as we normally do. You know, December is a challenging month for our students to hold it together. Before I get to the last slide, I also wanted to mention that we had our kindergarten and first grade music programs. Mrs. Bowman always does an amazing job with that, but I don't know if you've ever watched those productions. The teachers are so busy helping their kids, like they didn't get many pictures. So sorry I didn't have pictures of those, but those were super cute. And then finally, we have our feature teacher super staff. We're about a month behind. The timing of our faculty meetings is not quite aligning with the board meetings, so I'm going to share with you our November feature teacher and super staff. Maybe. There we are. Okay, so Mrs. Audra Kingery, our K2 counselor, was our November feature teacher, and I'm just going to kind of read what the staff said about her. Audra is an absolute diamond in our building. She's amazing at what she does. She truly tries to meet the needs of each and every student. She has a perfectly calming presence. She's happy to help, is an excellent leader, and is a safe space for students and staff. Audra's words of advice, ear to listen, and heart of pure gold shape students and her coworkers' lives every day. She is the first to help out when there's a need, and she just needs a cape for all of her superhero abilities. She's a blessing to SGE. And then our super staff was Haley DeMercurio. This one hits a little bit right here. She was one of my 5th grade students. Haley is an absolute bright spot in the day of anyone who sees her. She is willing to step up and take on any role or challenge with a smile. Her dedication to her school work, because she's going to school, kids, and self-goal setting is inspiring. She handles every situation thrown at her with grace and poise. She has great relationships with her students and is an amazing friend. Our students love her, and so do we. She's a great addition to the SPED team at SGE. And that's it for St. John Elementary. Thanks, guys.
Good evening. Okay, we're going all the way back to Thanksgiving. So we have our kindergarten students enjoying a kindergarten feast. We might see, nope, Mr. Gettinger is not in there, but he was there that day because that I heard is his favorite school lunch. Our kindergarten teachers also do the Balloons Over Broadway with the students, and our 5th grade kiddos jump in and help our kindergartners create their balloons, and then they do a parade with the kindergarten teachers do the parade with those little bee-bots as well with their balloons. So all things Christmas. So we celebrated Grinch Day yesterday and had a lot of green and fun spirit in the building. That's the top pictures. And then the top right are, oh my gosh, help me out. Which group is doing that? Adelaide. Yes, the Adelaide's fundraiser is done by our Sunshine Splashers. And they are collecting, or sent out flyers for the students to bring in toys for Adelaide's Army, which is always a big deal for our students since her sisters are in our building or have been in our building. And then the bottom left, you can see a group of students decorating our tree. And then in the middle, down here, we have students that serve drinks to our teachers throughout in the mornings throughout the week. And they're excited about the Christmas goodies that are going in the drinks now. We have middle school came to sing Christmas carols to us, so that was fun. We enjoyed that. And then we had our 1st and 3rd grade Christmas programs put on by Mr. Friedmeier. They did a wonderful job. It was a big hit. We also did the Hour of Code.
I'm going to put Miss Tischer on the spot. Do you want to talk a little bit about it since you're here?
It was amazing. We did Makey Makey stations and Cublets, the makerspace, the coding mice, and then the Hour of Code challenges, and the whole building participated, and we did it in library this year.
Yes, and the kiddos always have a wonderful time with that. A little different. And our positive office referrals will start at the top left. Xander Braun, Jaden Smith, and he has received 2. Iris Schwint, Ellie Day, Mia Stoll, and Lucas Palmer. Then the next row, Chase Farmer, Naomi Jordan, Sawyer Edwards, Brinley Burke-Bigler, Colton Welsh, and Amory Inman. And the bottom, Case Langeneckert, Kinsley Hughes, Kinsley Castellaw, Abe Hook, and Lucas Holzhauser and Grant Stewart. And our faculty of the month was Mrs. Tischer. She has been such a bright addition to our team at BLE. She is full of fun ideas and goes above and beyond to make learning fun for our students. Mrs. Tischer excelled at organizing the book fair, making sure to assist teachers who were without library access that week by sacrificing her planning time. She's been a bright light in our building. We enjoy having her. Staff of the month, Mrs. Emma is such an extremely important part of BLE family. She works so hard with students in the gym, outside, and after school. She has built great relationships with each one of them. She steps in whenever needed and leaves no doubt that she can handle anything that comes her way. Her positive attitude and smile is something that the students and staff look forward to seeing every morning, and I second that. She's a wonderful addition as well. She doesn't seem like she seems like she's done it for years. She's a natural for sure. So, thank you, and everyone have a happy holiday.
Dr. Mercer and Mrs. Huffman could not be here this evening, so they sent us a video. believe they both had supervision this evening. So.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody. I have a new student with me tonight. Shay is going to present the principal's report for the high school, but I just want to take an opportunity to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and thank you for continuing to serve our students in our district. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Shay, it's all you. You want me to stay up here with you, or can I go sit down? Okay. December board meeting.
Just tell me when to go to the next one, all right.
Okay. Positive office referrals, we had Aaliyah Filer, Gracie Ladd, Micah Kaylin Warren, Luke Ferranto, Anna Fisher, Brock Woodward, Allie Apt, Gabrielle Watts, Grace Joggers, Ava Greer, Bennett Walls, and Gracie Herman. And then we had a Rotary Student of the Month and Elks Student of the Month, Sophia Hook and Hannah Ahrens. So some news for the new Hall of Fame inductees, Dennis Drum and Clint Wolk. The Hall of Fame was moved to outside the library instead of down by the gym. So Caden Schweiss and Colton Roth worked really close with Mr. Roth to get that up by the library. And then the first ever Dragons of Honor is Brian Jett, the infamous coach of St. John's. So some more news. The MoDOT Bridge competition, St. John for the high school, that group for the second year in a row got first place. We had a few individual placements, and I know one kid got the most aesthetic bridge, so they were pretty happy with that coming back. The senior class signed the metal sign that they put in the benches down in the senior tee, and then FAFSA Frenzy, where staff and some of the people will help parents and students fill out the FAFSA form for college aid. So some club news. Speech and debate finals, there were quite a few of us who went to finals and placed. PAG, which is the Principal's Advisory Group, went to Joplin, which was a very far drive. Esports went to state. These are some of the state finalists. I also have some other things to mention that aren't on here, aren't pictured. I know Stuco just had their lock-in and they went and caroled and did some other donations. NHS has a donation district-wide going on right now for the women's shelters in Festus and Perryville, and at our lock-in in January we will be delivering that to them. Next slide. Sports. So wrestling had a tournament last weekend and they have one this upcoming weekend. I know some people placed. Boys basketball just beat Valley at Friday 80-61, so that was pretty exciting for that. Girls basketball, they also have a game going on right now. Girls basketball had a game yesterday. They did lose, but they have a home game on Thursday to, I think it's Kingston. Also, Winter Guard for the first time in St. John history had been performing at halftime, and they did one of our assemblies as well. They seem to be doing pretty well. People have been enjoying that. So, Teacher of the Month is Mr. Kreitler. The student whose quote was chosen says, "This teacher is an amazing listener and is very welcoming in their class. They go out of their way to pull me aside in the hallway if I seem to be a little off. They will ask me about my day and is one of my biggest supporters. I really enjoy talking and confiding in this teacher because they give me great advice. They never turn me away. Even though I do not have this teacher at the moment, they still go out of their way to keep our connection, and they talk to me any chance given. This teacher has made me more comfortable at home and at SGHS." That's all I have.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
And now Dr. McClard is up.
All right. We are going to do something a little bit different, break away from some tradition. Rather than go through each standardized test by grade level and subject and tell you where we placed, I thought along with Dr. Taylor, that it would be good to kind of review where we're at with our waiver process and kind of emphasize some of the things that we have been working on. I think you would all agree, just like tonight and any other night when they're talking about things that are going on in the building, that there's a common thread on what learning is, and it's not just regurgitating something as far as like level 1 knowledge. And so some of our innovation waiver is based on that. We got a waiver so we could start to explore what are other ways for us to measure the learning that we know is real impactful, whether that's building bridges and actually applying knowledge. They say that if you're creating something, you're taking not just knowing how to do it and applying it, but now you're using it in new ways. That's a deeper level of understanding versus taking a test and just showing you know it. Now there are instances where you just need that knowledge to know, well, where am I at as a teacher? Where am I at as a student? What needs to come next? And that's part of our innovation waiver as well, using NWEA as a through-year assessment for us to be able to kind of benchmark. Are we where we want to be? Do we need to look at certain items and advance in that way? So with the innovation waiver, it does not get us out of taking the state test, what it does, or out of APR. What it does do is it kind of freezes our status and it allows us to start looking at other methods. As we're going through the innovation waiver, we are looking as a group with SRSN at a federal waiver. There's a lot of accountability notes that you still have to do even if you get a waiver. So there would be items within that assessment that we would still have to do that maybe aren't necessarily what we would come up with if we made one on our own. But they are seeking a demonstration waiver on the federal level, but that takes a little bit more effort and time to be able to do that. Other items to note with innovation waiver, it's good until the 25-26 school year, and it's focused on learning growth and status like I talked about, and I think we covered all the innovation waiver pieces. The other piece I wanted to talk about is our APR. While it's not something that's emphasized and we're looking for a better measure, I did want to point out that our APR did go up from last year. It's not something that we're hiding. It's just something that we don't feel that we're hanging our hat on the APR measure because there's things going on in this building or in this district that we know are a better measure of student success. And so our goal for that next bullet is to create a data dashboard. We are on the way there, but one that reflects the learning and everything that's going on in our classrooms, and even maybe some of the connections. Like we all know that learning's not just about facts and even applying knowledge. Some of it's the connections you have, giving back, being a citizen that's productive. So creating a dashboard that not only gives you the hard facts, but also a dashboard that starts to tell our story. We are on a timeline, and with the help of Nancy and the tech department and Bailey and Dr. Boyd and several other, Russ Toombs, several other people that helped me get all the information and put it, we were able to create a data dashboard that was there so they could show the State Board of Education kind of what we would like to create as a prototype. As we begin to build this out, what we would like to see is more real-time information for the data dashboard, and I'll kind of walk you through some of it with like a 30,000-foot view, and then you can, if you want to go back in it, it's always there on our website. But we'd also like to add maybe pictures and stories and videos as well. So in the data dashboard, you can find it on our main page. If you go to the menu and you scroll down to Success Ready Students, and through that page you can find the data dashboard. And so on the data dashboard it explains what our 3-year interim assessment looks like and how to use it. Right now we're partnered with Marzano Research, which is a well-known name in education and in research, and they have been taking our, through a data agreement, they have been taking our data and creating interactive charts. So if you click on the academic readiness and growth, it will take you to that, and it will describe some of those measures. And I think it's important to point out that it's not just pointing out students are basic or proficient or below basic. As we heard from our tiered rooms, learning's not just a next step. Sometimes there's bumps in the road. Sometimes we're starting a little bit behind the 8 ball and we're having to catch up. So growth is a big part of measuring success. Rather than being a 4th grader that's moved into the district reading 2 grade levels below and, well, they're below basic, we can start to measure, but are they catching up? Is what we're doing helping the students so they can graduate and be successful? Academic readiness is basically what you think it would be. Are they on grade level? Are they where they need to be? And then academic readiness by growth is a quadrant that combines the two, and I'll show you the quadrant real quick here. So this is it's a little bit harder on a projector. Let me see if I can put this full screen here. So you can see we have different toggled buttons here. This is the NWEA, that's the measurement we use, so you won't be able to toggle off of that if you're staying with St. Genevieve. I do believe that you could get into these and find other districts in the SRSM, but the way we've put it up here, it's just our data because we thought that was the most valid. You can click by everybody in the district, or you can select a particular building. And then you can even filter it by grade. So if you want to do all the grades, you can do all the grades. If you wanted to look at elementary and just check the certain grades from elementary, you could do that. Or if you're just interested in, say, 7th grade, you could look at 7th grade. Levels by status. So you have all the different, from that far, you have all the different levels here. This is lunch status, so you can, and some of these are federal requirements for us to report on. You have to disaggregate the data by free reduced status as well. And same with some of these other filters as well. You can also filter by disability, by ELL, by race, ethnicity, and by subject. So if we wanted to look at math or ELA, we could do that as well. We'll just stay with math for now, just so I can give you the overview. And so this is our growth, and you can see the key here. You have low growth. I might have to get new contacts. Low average, average, high. This is the bar chart, and you can toggle over, and you can see it just in a table if that's easier for you to see. So as we're looking at this, now this is just last year's. In an ideal world, we would have fall up already, and then we're finishing up winter, and we would, once winter's done, we would have that up. But right now we're waiting for Marzano to ask us for the data. We're giving them the data. They're uploading it. We're uploading it here. I will tell you in conversations with buildings as those scores are coming in, they're already looking at where's our growth. Dr. Boyd helped me with a spreadsheet to look at some of the elementaries, and the elementaries breaking it down not only by building, but they're breaking it down by grade and by teacher, like and by student. Is each student making the appropriate growth? And NWEA will give them kind of a score, like you should be aiming for this by winter. And it tells you, are we on track or are we not? And then you can kind of get together as a team and re-examine why are we not making the growth that we need to make. So our next one is academic readiness. I'll switch back to the bar. So this is more on your status. Where are we at? Like, are we on grade level? Are we below grade level? Are we above grade level? So that kind of gives you a picture of where we're at. And you can hover over them, and it will give you some of that information as well. And then the quadrant is something I get made fun of a little bit because I really like the quadrant because it combines the two, and it gives you a better picture of, yeah, that kid came to me high already. Like, are we doing something with them? Or, yeah, that kid is struggling, but look at the growth that they're making. So in the quadrant, you just read it based, just like any table, based on your Y and X axis. So you want to be in high growth, and you want to be in above level. So the farther to the top right you are, the better off you are. And so you can kind of look at these by the quadrants, and you can say, okay, well, we have high growth, but we're below grade level. So 14% of them maybe aren't where we want them to be, but they're showing very high growth. And so that's something that's not normally reflected when we're getting our MAP scores. And I tell you, well, we had 25% below proficient. So this gives us another way to interpret the data and to look at it and kind of give us information that we can use. And like I said, we would want this to be more real time, but I'm telling you that the teachers are looking at this in real time in actually using the information instead of an autopsy. They're actually able to diagnose and make corrective action along the way. So there's that one. That's the big piece that I wanted to show you. We also have different, I think they call them radial buttons. I shouldn't have tried to go with that term. Should have just said buttons. Attendance, you can click on that. I will point out attendance. There's an obvious dip, and you can kind of guess what year that probably happened. But you can start to see that our attendance is back on the rise. So that's good news. And I think some of that has to do with our attendance policies as well. And with some of the work our people do to kind of follow up with families and see what we can do to get them here. College, career, workplace. This is a very thorough tab. And if you have time, I would highly suggest you go through this. But basically, this is a tab that focuses on not just the academic side as far as like knowledge and taking tests and showing what you know, but it's also applying what you know and starting to choose pathways that you are most interested in as a student, whether that's a college pathway, whether that's through the trades. And so we start to have some of that information as you go through it. It explains what market value assets are. If you have time, I would suggest watching that video. I'm not going to play it for you. We also have quick links here, so you can start to look at what's on the page so you don't have to scroll all the way through it. But we explain what a market value asset is. And if you remember, it's basically something in hand that tells potential employers or colleges that you are ready for the next step. And you kind of got a leg up on maybe somebody that hasn't curtailed all this information to show what they've been able to do. So it could be a work experience like an internship. It could be a client-connected project. It could be entrepreneurial experiences where they've started their own business. And those of you that have worked with people that have started their own businesses or have your own business, you know there's a lot of learning involved on that. Regional vetted industry recognized credentials, and we call them IRCs. Basically, those are kind of stamps of approval saying, yes, I'm able to do this. I know how to do this. That way, when you go into the workforce, you can show it. And it's not just you saying, yeah, I'm really good at it. You have something to back that up. College credit, if we're able to get students that are going into college a leg up on having some of their hours done and at a reduced cost in an environment they're familiar with and they feel supported in, that's a huge advantage to our students. We've had conversations about, well, what should count and what shouldn't. And I think right now our stance is if they're in that course and they're taking the course and they don't pay for the credit, we're still giving them credit for it because they may say, well, I'm not going to be able to transfer this to the college of my choice, but you're still completing it and you're still coming away with that college level knowledge. We had SRSN question us, are you sure? Our number is very high. Of students that have this already. So approximately 82% of our graduates have an MBA. So that's something to be very proud of, and that reflects a lot on the people that have been doing the work, especially at the secondary level, to make sure that our students have these experiences that a lot of schools don't offer. And so within that, you'll see our table, and you can look at that on your own time with the percentages. But we also gathered different ways that they can earn that MBA. So these are all the ways that some of our students are able to obtain an MBA. And I will say that the list is always growing. They're always, reviewing the list and saying, hey, is there a way to tweak this or bring in another experience? I will say that the high school has brought in a EMS class for students that are interested in the health field, and so they're able to actually go through training with a certified instructor so they can walk out being EMS certified, is that correct? Or
EMT in the state of Missouri. We have 7
yeah.
students right now that are, 7 seniors that are participating in it. So they go through the program, they have to complete so many clinical hours in the hospital, and they also have to do 24 hours worth of field experience with current EMTs out in the field. Once they complete the coursework, once they complete those tasks, they have to be 18, they can take the test. If they pass the test, they're a certified EMT in the state of Missouri. So we are super lucky to have that partnership with the local ambulance district. They send an instructor up each day. She sits in with Mrs. Barnes, and we kind of have a co-teaching model that's going on in there, but our kids are getting real world experience in that classroom, and like I said, we have 7 of our 130 seniors that are participating in that program. So it's been really neat, just a really awesome opportunity. Dr. McClard was talking a little bit about those market value asset numbers from last graduating class. Our numbers right now, tentatively, and this is still with a semester to go, we are hovering somewhere just over 90% right now of our students are going to graduate with some type of market value asset that they're going to be able to put on a resume that's going to hopefully allow them to be successful in the real world beyond St. Genevieve High School.
Yeah. And it's another way of also thinking about, well, I don't know what I want to do at 17, 18. It's a way to expose them to what they think they may want to do. Some of them may get into a course or a field and go, this isn't what I thought it is. And they just saved, what, $30,000 a year in college instead of having to change their major halfway through. So that tab has all the information with our business partnerships, our dual credits, and it gives you everything that you would want to know. And then the other tabs also give you some of the information. I won't go through every page. The CSIP, you're obviously familiar with. We approved that. And I will note that the CSIP, the more we're getting into it, the more it's aligning with the direction and the focus that we are taking as a district just naturally. So I think the committee did a great job of kind of seeing the vision and seeing where we're heading and saying we need to focus on these items. And of course, exams, that's pretty straightforward. It gives you our percentages on the end of course exams. So that's more of just we took the test, here's where we fell. Graduation rates, again, it's a static measurement. It lets you know what our graduation rates are. And then qualifying assessments, I will take you through this one. It lets you know, the ICAP may sound familiar to you when everybody wasn't getting their points on APR, but St. Gen did because we had fantastic people making sure we turned everything in correctly. But you can see the percentage of our students coming out with a plan, and your ICAP is basically saying, I'm interested in this field. Here's some of the things I'm doing throughout my school work in order to kind of pursue that and make sure I'm on the correct path to pursue it. DESE credentialing, that's kind of like your IRCs that we talked about, industry recognized credentials. And then qualifying assessments, while the ACT is no longer offered to every student for free through the state, we still offer either that or work keys. What we have learned is that some students are like, I don't want to take this because I'm not going to college, so we offer other methods where they can use those tests to maybe go down the pathway that they choose.
Acuplacer as well.
Yep, that's right. And ASVAB is another assessment that we use as well. So those are some of the qualifying assessments. Those are ones that if we were focused on the traditional APR, you would get points for taking those different tests as well. And so that's just an overview of the data dashboard. In an ideal world, we would like to be able to have this like more automated and uploaded more often. So that's the goal for that. I did want to point out our next steps are creating a graduate or a profile of a graduate. And the more we get into this work, I think it makes sense because it kind of gives you some of those pieces we heard in the presentations where it's we want students that give back. We want students that are critical thinkers. We want students that have a work ethic. Some of those things have came up in some of our discussions as committee members and stakeholders coming in. We sent out a survey. It closes the 20th, and then our next steps are to kind of have that conversation of, okay, what do we do next? And what that does, we went on a field trip of some other places that are SRSN members in elementary, and the elementary teachers saw where that profile of a graduate bleeds all the way down to preschool, and they're talking about it during morning meetings. And, well, how are we an empathetic learner? How are we giving back? And so it's something that's not just for seniors graduating. It's something that's going to guide the work of durable skills that maybe aren't tested with a paper pencil test that we want from our graduates that are coming back into our community. And then the other piece I want to leave you with is just the impact team. I wanted to give them a plug. There's a group of teachers that are working to work on our next steps with our competency-based education. And so they're going a little bit deeper than what everybody is. Everybody's kind of getting the overview and talking about, well, what's my next step? But they're having a few more meetings. And I met with one group that got their books to do kind of their own book study. And they're going to determine, well, how long should we take? Should we break it up? What's the method? And I'm leaving that up to them. But I did want to point out, like, the conversation that was in that room. I came in with no agenda, came in with no timetable. I think I had to cut them off after an hour and a half and say, okay, I think it's time for everybody to go home. But the discussions they are having are deep and they are meaningful, and I think they are going to make a huge impact on our students. So when you run into people doing that work, they should be commended. I think they're going to help lead the way, and so I think it's gonna be huge for our students. And with that, I am done giving you, oh, I didn't point out, we are above the state on every standardized test, just FYI. I forgot to mention that. So, any questions?
All this is on our website too.
Yes.
And SRN's providing the dashboard for all the schools within the network. Is that
They're providing the Marzano piece where they put it in. I've got to learn once that funding's gone how to use like something like Tableau, or I think one of the hurdles is in talking to Bailey, like, well, we also have to worry about accessibility. So like if we put it in a Google slideshow and just embed that, is that accessible to everybody, and make sure that we're in compliance with that as well. So it may have to be learning a free program like Tableau Public and embedding it in there. So.
Okay. About competency-based education, have you tried to see if you can schedule some time with Rick now? I know Jerry, myself, you went to the competency-based education
Yes.
at the MSBA conference.
Yeah.
Because they've implemented it, so.
Yeah, some of our high school especially teachers have asked, hey, can we go look at it? Dr. Boyd and I kind of discussed a little bit, like, are there times where maybe it makes sense for them to go? With our River PD allowing us to give time back to some of our teachers, that may be a spot where some of them that are interested and are like, well, I don't want to give up class time, I don't want to sub-plan. That may be an opportunity for some of them that want to take some of those trips. And it works the same for our career and tech people, like I think they go to state and do a visit. So that may be a good opportunity for them to visit, so,
okay.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It was probably one of the best sessions we went to.
Yeah, and luckily, with the grant funding, we're able to fund like subs and some of those trips. Like I wrote some of that in for us to be able to do that, because after we took a trip in, I think we visited 4 elementaries or 3? 4? Yeah, it is a long day. But after visiting that, it was one of those like, well, this isn't too far off from what we're doing, but it also gives them kind of a template for, okay, now I see what we're heading towards. So I think it's beneficial for them to see it in action in other places.
And Dr. McClure, I have a question. So I'm you know, looking at all the interim assessment data, and I love how you can kind of
Yeah.
do all kinds of stuff with it. But, so if we want to look how we did last year on the traditional tests, like the MAP or whatever, we would go to DESE.
Yeah.
But all of this seems to show like our interim assessments on NWEA, our end of course assessments, this is where all that is.
Yes,
MAP
correct.
is the only thing left on DESE.
Yeah, MAP is on DESE. I think our EOC rates may be on DESE as well. So there's other information in the public portal. I think, I don't know if our APR is on there. Like I looked through the public portal, I think it was supposed to be, but when I clicked, it didn't show up.
But the
So,
scores are in the public
yeah,
portal.
yeah. So,
Okay, good, just checking. I
Yeah.
understood it. Okay.
It's exciting. Talk about the, especially the competency base. I know Mr. Gettinger mentioned the written hour presentation. We're moving in that fashion, and I think I told Dr. Taylor, or maybe it was someone else there, when we came out of that presentation, we were all on board, but they had a staff of 4 just for curriculum
Yeah.
development.
They have a big
Yeah.
workshop every spring in the end
Yes.
of May. I think
Yeah.
it's 3 days,
And
isn't
they
it?
offered their teachers the ability to write the plans, for lack of correct terminology, and they paid them basically per plan they wrote. So all the teachers, if they wanted to help write them, got compensated for their time doing so. I think it was like $70 a pop.
yeah,
They paid them.
yeah. For the progressions, yeah,
Yep.
yep.
I mean, and they said, boy, there's been a lot of successes, but there's been a lot of
Mm-hmm.
growing pains too.
Yeah.
And for the seniors who are trying to get a handle on what it's like not to have grades per se, and how you handle all that tricky class ranking and other
I think it
things.
was mind blowing, there's no valedictorian or salutatorian in other
Yeah,
class
and
anymore.
that universities sometimes look for, so it was much easier, they said, the journey in the elementary grades,
Yeah.
of course, than
Yeah.
in upper high school.
And that was reflected just in the discussion with our impact team, and they brought us some really heavy topics, but I think it's important to remind everybody in this journey, you're better today than you were yesterday, and just continue down that path. We get into a habit of wanting to compare ourselves, and they were doing amazing things, and they're starting to get down on themselves because they're not at the top of the mountain. Like, hey, you're still climbing. Let's keep going. So I think it's always important just to remind people that you're doing a fantastic job. It takes time, and there's going to be bumps in the road. It's just like our typical curriculum writing. Like we can spend a summer writing it, but 6 months from now, you may determine, you know what, I wish I would have done this. So I think we're always learning and growing. So, yeah.
Yeah, they said they were on a 10-year track, does that sound right, Jerry? And
It was a 10-year.
originally, and they accelerated it to 5, and just finally just ripped the Band-Aid off and said,
Yeah, I know.
we're going for it.
Yeah.
'Cause it seemed like they were stalling out.
Yeah.
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 And they had to have like open, like sessions or meetings with the public to help people understand what it actually means. Like, here are your standards, here's things people have to be able to achieve to be able to go to the next level up of whatever subject it is.
Yeah, that was one of the advice that we got from one of the elementaries was when you think you've communicated, communicate some more.
Some more.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there are, there's always, they said at the beginning especially, just like this resistance of, I don't understand this, what do you mean, there's no grade, or what does this really mean?
Yeah. But if we can get to a point, they were talking about like their elementary students were leading the parent-teacher conferences, and they're just on the side, just kind of hey, don't forget to show them this. And then they would explain, well, this is an example of how I know X, Y, Z, and leading their parents through it. So I think it's great to be able to kind of give the keys back to the students and say, you own your learning. We're here to help you get there.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can get back.
And the last thing in my report is safety reports, and you will see in the board packet shelter-in-place safety drills that were held.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, and the first item is a Prop SG update.
Am I really going to click through all these pictures?
I don't know what you're going to do.
Okay.
The plaques for Bloomsdale and St. John Middle School additions have arrived and will be placed over break. St. John Elementary crews have been working on exterior framing. The gymnasium, most of the ductwork is in place in the gymnasium. Installing rough ends for the lights. Architects finishing up plans for the floor. Sprinkler system is complete. The vestibule masonry is complete and ready for beams. Glass doors and windows are in and will be installed soon. Early Childhood Center, polishing of floors has begun. They're tying in the sanitary, installing drop ceiling, placing flooring. Casework for the classrooms is going to arrive in mid-December. Epoxy is being poured in the kitchen. So both those are coming along nicely. Every time, go back a little bit to that dirt. Yep. Every time I copy one of these presentations over, I get to see where we were last year, and this is where we were last year. So if you go from that one to the next slide, that's pretty impressive. So it's just nice to see where we were, and a year later where we are. And then the athletic facility, I've shared with you renderings and the possible location in past board meetings. This is just reviewing those. We've had some updates. That building to the right is a little more squat and fat than the current rendering, and I think we're going to see that just right there. So I, in conjunction, in conversation with Jared Bonnell, the wrestling coach, we rearranged the wrestling mats inside the wrestling room. I've talked to Dr. Nix about concession stand and the organization of that. Do we need it? We ended up pulling it out of this building and leaving it where it is. So go back one. So that's a new rendering of what that building might look like there. It's still in progress. So we're still working on it. We've got a meeting Thursday. An update meeting, so they're going to bring a new rendering.
So the restrooms, is that going to remain the same?
No restrooms over here for public. We're going to attempt to redo the male restroom that currently exists. We went into the female. It's okay. It's not too bad, and there's a lot of stalls in there. The men's is discombobulated, disjointed, and just generally nasty. We need to update that thing. So that's going to be next on the list.
Okay.
So if you'll look at where that building is going to be located, it is going to cover discus, pole vault, and shot. So we've been talking to Dr. Nix and the track coaches about timeline. You want to wait till May after track season and start relocating that stuff then and start on the athletic facility then? Or do you want to start in January? Brock Miller says, I'll have some people ready to get started in January.
This January?
This January.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah. What that means if they start this January is we need to relocate those 3 field events now. So if you look down the hill there, down where Javelin is, you will see a rendering of a rectangle concrete pad. Off to the top right is the shot put. Go to the next slide, Lance, it blows it up a little bit. Over there to the right, you'll see the shot put, and over to the left, you'll see the discus throw. This is a rendering from Matt Pigg, our on-site construction manager, at a different location, what they did. Mr. Thompson came in with a plan. He saw this and he fell in love with it, said that would work great. It would give us some practice areas. So that's just me grabbing that diagram and throwing it on the map. This is not an accurate, this is where it's going to be. I just wanted to get a feel for what it might look like down there, and it's definitely not to scale. Let me think. Pole vault. Pole vault is going to be moved kind of parallel with and at the end of long jump over there at the end of that building. Dr. Nix and the track coaches feel like we can fit it in there. So that process is going to start now. And hopefully by track season, that's going to be ready to go on the hill.
Gosh.
Which will also help with lighting, we talked about with pole vault. So right now they have a dog to desk light over there that's not very good. And we'll be able to run lighting off of the main football lights on that other side.
We have better access to that down there.
We're going to have to work on that. My high in the sky, maybe some escrow money gets settled, is that becomes an egress for students. And we're able to go down that road and build a bridge and cross the creek and have an egress out there. So that would mean making that road better able to handle that traffic. Where this building lands, and because it falls off that hill back there where those trees are, we're going to have to put a pretty significant wall back there to support that. What that looks like, what dirt is left over, what we're able to do with that road is all going to be contingent on this building and how it impacts that area there. So yes, we're going to have to do something to the road.
In the meantime, we just got to get ready.
Yes.
The more slender that one, the more slender, I guess, less squat building looks like there'd be less dirt work involved.
Yeah, you would hope.
I think
Behind
this
the big part,
version, they haven't given us the latest one, but I think this portion is moving that way.
Pushes back?
After they, yeah.
There goes that here.
So it's still hidden.
Is that gonna take up, I know, like overflow for like homecoming gets crazy?
Yeah.
Like,
Talking about parking? Yeah.
Gosh, where are the kids?
So,
I know you can't plan around like one event per year, right? But I mean,
right, but you need to be ready for it.
realities that can happen.
We're not sure. We don't know if we want to leave that, I'm talking about coaches and Dr. Nix, and that grassy area there where we overflow football parking is where middle school football practices.
Right.
So this is going to impact that tremendously. So do we try to save some of that? Still allow them to practice there, or do we make that parking? Do we just asphalt it and make it parking? I'm not sure. I think Mr. Bonnell would like to have his wrestlers be able to pull up with their equipment to the building and park. And get out in the buildings there rather than to park over where student parking is behind that fence and then haul all their stuff over there. So that's a discussion and process. We're not sure yet.
To the left of the big building, is that gonna level out over there, or?
So that's where they're talking about putting pole vault, coming back towards,
Yeah, over.
Right here?
See the
Yep,
long
right
jump
there.
and the
Okay.
waistbands and
Now I can
back
see
to that
that.
corner.
And then jumping to the north, not to the south, I'm assuming.
I'm not sure, I don't think it's jumping behind the building because you wouldn't be able to see it.
Like
I
jump
think
off
they're
the
gonna be-
hill?
I think they're going to be jumping back towards.
would be towards
Yeah.
long circle.
Down here.
Yeah, this way.
I guess there's really no bleachers here to worry about
Yes.
obstruction of view. So, I mean, like for football games, just like, I mean, should be fine.
Yeah, because they take those things down,
Yeah.
all that stuff catches in the spring.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have some good information on Thursday when we have our construction meeting.
Looks like it's coming along.
Perhaps a future bond issue will have a parking garage. I'm not even thinking that yet. Just came out. What'd you say? Thank you,
welcome.
Next on the agenda is instructional program presentation, high school pride credit recovery.
Oh, that's not it.
I can wing it, but no. Jay Poe, most of you guys know me from football, but I do work here when it's not all Fridays in the at-risk department. So I'm going to highlight those first three. If you walk into our classroom, those first three things are going on at the same time. There's a lot of things that go into that, and I'm going to break them down piece by piece. And that last one, the Dragonfire Leadership, is kind of a passion project we've been working on that we just implemented this first semester. I'll give you some highlights of that. So we'll move on to the pride portion of it. Pride is a lot of things. It's very hard to put just one label on it. I like to just name it like a resource class. The students that come in there need a lot of different things. Each student needs separate things. It takes a little bit of getting to know those students to find out what that thing is. Some just need more time to get assignments done. You know, a lot of our students, when they go home, it's not an environment conducive for learning or getting work done. So they might just need an extra 60 minutes a day to get their assignments done. Some of them need just a space. You know, some of them need a space just to decompress and not have be filled with stress, all the sort of things that come in a regular classroom. Not every one of our students is built for that. So it's an opportunity for those students to come in and kind of just de-escalate for 40, 50 minutes, also get a little bit of education in. Most of the students that do come in there just need extra resources. The majority of those students are students that do not qualify for an IEP, but they still need some sort of extra help, but we're just not able to get them IEPs for whatever reason. That's where this class mostly fits in. Maybe a student needs extra math help. I can give them that. Just whatever that student needs from a educational standpoint, that time is set aside for that. Within that, you know, if a kid is, or if a student is, has the ability, has everything turned in, good to go, we try to instill some skills and characteristics that kind of tie into what Dr. McClard was talking about with the career readiness, making sure when these students graduate, even if they're not going to college, they have some sort of skill they can carry into the workplace and to our community to make those places better and to provide them their best opportunity to reach their ceiling. The majority of students aren't placed in Pride until later into the semester. A lot of them, I don't want to say fail out of class, but struggle in classes. It's almost like an intervention. The grade levels will get together, identify these students that might need this resource, and then they'll get them moved into the class. And it's been a very, very key piece in making sure that a lot of our students are getting their stuff done, putting them on pace to graduate. So to the next slide, the two things that every student does, no matter what they need, no matter what resource they need, every Monday we're going to check their grades together. Myself and the student are going to check their grades, see where they're deficient, see where they might need more work, determine if that's an ability issue or if that's just an understanding issue or if it's a motivational thing. The thing we find a lot with at-risk, the students will have their work done, will have the ability to do it, but it's tucked in the bottom of their backpack and they just don't have the ability to take it out and turn it in. They don't have the ability to send an email to their teacher and communicate, hey, I just need one more day. So those skills are something we teach these kids, these students constantly. And then the next one is missing assignments list. Every Monday we sit down, write out what assignments they have missing. When I first started, I was blown away by the amount of time students spent on L work that was worth 5 points when they had a 200-point assignment sitting in another classroom. So working with them to help them identify, hey, this is more important and supersedes this 5 points that has very minimal impact to your overall grade. So those are the key pieces for the Pride course, and more than anything, it's just instilling students with the ability to be successful students, to be successful learners, and give them a chance to graduate. So if you go to the next slide, credit recovery and basic skills are two courses married to one. Basic skills is an abbreviated version of Pride. We marry these two together to help students stay on pace to graduate. classes in the same hour, they get a half a credit for both of these. So the basic skills, like I said, is rated and evaluated the same as the Pride courses, and then the credit recovery portion is used to salvage a failed credit, a lost credit that they either lost the previous semester or previous year, or help them gain a credit to make sure they graduate on time, or to, we've had several students use this as an ability to go to Perryville. You know, if they come in one credit short, we can't let them go to Perryville, we enroll them in credit recovery. Mr. Toombs does a fantastic job of identifying those students and allowing them the opportunity to go do a trade, you know, go do the thing they're going to do when they graduate and get real world experience doing that. So if they're a half credit short, we're throwing in credit recovery, and make sure they're allowed that opportunity. But the most common student you'll find is there's somebody that failed a course. We've had various reasons for that. You know, we have kids that don't finish the semester for various reasons. They're able to come in and recover that credit through credit recovery. We've had several students that transfer in from out of state for whatever reason. The credits that they attained in their previous state high school doesn't transfer to Missouri. So instead of sending those kids back a semester, however many semesters those credits are behind, we're able to enroll them in this credit recovery so they can still graduate on time, on pace with their class. It's been a very key piece to ensure, going back to what Dr. McCall was talking about graduation rates, it's been pivotal in making sure that students are given the opportunity to graduate with their peers, the people they come in with, and graduate when they're supposed to so they can get out into the world and do what they're supposed to do. This is just a broad overview of what one current student's credit recovery course looks like. It is an all online facilitated course. This particular student is in freshman English, second semester. They're able to see their overall progress and their mastery. All the assignments are listed out. Really, once we've taught them how to navigate the system, it's kind of work at your own pace. There's a guideline set of where they need to be, but this program really allows our kids to prepare for online courses. You know, a lot of colleges are getting to that online, electives and the lower level units. This is a great learning tool to learn if you are a student that's able to manage and navigate that when you do go to college, if you go to college. It allows us to determine where a student is successful and maybe struggling a little bit. So this student in particular, if you look across her scores, she's averaging 70 to 80 in her assignments, quizzes, and tests, but she has really, really struggled with her essay. She completed 2 essays, both scored out at around 35% average. So looking at that data, I'm able to sit down with her and I'm able to sit down with her English teachers that she currently has and identify, okay, these are her weaknesses and what can we do to ensure that she's going to pass sophomore English, because she's taking this ninth grade class as a sophomore. Okay, so she's currently enrolled in sophomore English. I'm working with her teacher to say, hey, we're really struggling with essays. A lot of her educational focus in that 10th grade English class is now focused on making sure she can write and turn in narratives and all the stuff they're working on in there. The last piece is Dragonfire leadership. This kind of came about a lot of different ways. I did a trial run of a leadership class with some of our athletes 4 years ago. We did that 1 day a week in the spring before school. I think we started like 6:30 or 6:45. I'm a big morning person. Came to find out most of our students are not morning people. But the feedback we received was, the students enjoyed it. They found it beneficial. They were able to carry over into the classrooms and to extracurriculars. But it was just an extra stressor to their everyday lives. So Dr. Boyd and I kicked around the idea of how we could do it. We finally able to implement a leadership course, character course into our Dragonfire. So our Dragonfire is 40 minutes every Tuesday, Thursday. And I just finished our first session with seniors. We had 7 seniors in there that met 6 times and discussed, I'll show you in this kind of an overview of what we discussed, but just giving them tools that they can take, no matter if they get a title to be a leader, if they go be a leader or some sort of boss employer in their future or not. The goal is to give them skills to set them up for life. Again, it goes back into, ties in perfectly with what Dr. McClard was talking about, making sure our students have, marketable skills when they leave here. If they can be, if they can carry those skills into the workplace, into the careers, we're setting them up for success. So if you go to the next slide, these are the key pieces that we looked at. And when I first started developing this, I didn't want to just hodgepodge some stuff together, so I reached out to a lot of coaches throughout the state that do leadership classes. What I found, there's not really a curriculum. I was able to find one individual that had stolen a curriculum from some other state far away, so I had him send me the bootleg version of that. That's what we were doing. These are the key skills we focus on. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the thing I do want to highlight here, the big message we talk about with leadership is, I'm a big analogy metaphor guy, is a bowl of chili. Everybody in here makes chili differently. And I look at that as a great metaphor and analogy for leadership. Leadership looks like a lot of different things. And just like chili, there's a lot of great ways that you can present that. But if the person eating your chili doesn't like it, it's not good. So that's how we've got to essentially give them these, these spices and ingredients. That way they can make their own chili for the people they're going to lead and the communities they're going to serve. So we just, like I said, we just finished this up. I thought it went great. The best portion of it is one meeting we sat down and just talked. I think we view leadership as adults a lot differently than some of our teenagers do, and just allowing them to kind of discuss what it means for them was eye-opening. So we kind of catered these pieces and kind of changed up our approaches to fit what they need, because what they need is not what we received, because it's a different world than what we grew up in and what they're living in. So we thought it's been great. Hope to continue to do that second semester.
Hope you do too.
Yes. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I know.
All right, on to new business. First item on the agenda. Oh, no. We have one more. Music, property liability and workers' comp insurance.
This is not pleasant to talk about. Hasn't been for the last 2 years. I wanted to provide you with some information that Music has provided us related to increase in severe storms. On the left, you'll see May of 2021 in the entire state of Missouri, and on the right, you'll see May of 2024. It's been like that for the last 2 years. And last year we saw a significant increase in our insurance rates, and this year we did as well. So if you go to the next slide. Claims paid and reinsurance fees, you'll see starting in 2018, it's hovering around the $80 million mark. It starts to tick up a little bit in 22, and then in 23 and 24 it just goes through the roof. We are the victim, I guess, of that hail damage that came through, and every one of our roofs was impacted by that. So that's a situation where Music stepped up to the plate and is going to help us through that process. But when it happens all over the state, rates tend to increase significantly. So go to the next slide. I think it's important to give you a background on where we've been and where we are today. You can see in 22, our renewal was $292,000. 23, $308,000. That's a 5.3% increase. And you can see in 22 and 23 we received a credit, and so they give back when they have more money in their coffers than, they collected more than they paid out to pay all their administrative fees. They then give it back to school districts because they exist for school districts. From 23, 24, 308 to 350,000, that's a 26.5% increase. And then this year, from 24 to 25, from 350,000 to 472,000, that's a 34.6% increase. So as a consortium, the MAAA superintendents are talking about other options. One of the other schools goes with somebody else, so we're going to reach out to them just to at least have a conversation. We don't know that they'll be interested. Music handles the majority of school districts and some junior colleges, I'm not sure about colleges in the state of Missouri, and have a huge clientele and are able to get their numbers such that it shouldn't impact us like this, but when the storms just keep coming one after another and so many districts are having claims, it's tough to keep up. So our renewal this year is going to be $472,290.
Portion of that is 44 buses and another piece of property also.
That's a great point. We've added Bloomsdale Elementary Edition. We added Middle School Edition. They looked at St. John Elementary Edition. In addition to taking on a transportation building, property, buses, all of that adds up.
I feel like that came out as like a defense of this. It's still.
I agree.
And it is a crazy increase, but I mean, what did we actually have to pay out of pocket for all these new roofs? Hardly anything.
Well, it's
Our deductible.
so trying to do them all. It's a 2-summer project, so we've got a plan in place to do a portion of them this coming summer and a portion of them the next summer. So it'll be, as those bids come in, we'll forward those to music to make sure it meets their specifications, and then they'll give us the stamp of approval, and then they'll cover that cost.
And is this also, kind of like, did they go out and look at the early childhood building
I
and
don't,
covering that?
don't think that's on there yet.
Okay.
They came to take a tour with Davey, and I'm not sure if he took them out there. He could have, but I haven't talked to Davey.
Do you think they will increase our premiums mid-year to cover that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they're not-for-profit, correct? It's just,
Doesn't seem like it, but.
I wonder if all schools are going up 34% if they stuck it to it.
So that's a great question. There's a range, and it depends a lot on your workman's comp modifier. Your workman's comp if it goes up, your increase is going to be a higher percentage. If it goes down, then it's going to. They showed us a bubble graph. The majority of us are in the, I think it was 25 to 38% range. The majority of schools are in there. There are some outliers above and below that.
So it didn't have to do that they paid out all those hail claims for us. So they raised our rate.
Yeah, they haven't paid those out yet.
Okay.
This is storms in the state of Missouri and claims that have been paid out, claims on the books, so they could be this came out before our hail stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be on next
I was
year's.
gonna say, wow, did they raise our rates because they had to pay for somebody?
It's looked at as the state as a whole,
Collectively.
yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense to be in a consortium.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a health consortium, and the more bodies you have, the more lives you have, the more you're protected when a catastrophic loss occurs.
So I think in general what you're saying, my insurance went up.
I know.
I mean,
Well,
there's
mine went-
1,000
everybody's
roofs
did
going up
Since
in
May,
town
mine's
right
gone
now,
up
so.
twice.
Well, all the new roofs, and, hey, maybe the rates will go down. Everything's new.
As long as we don't get
That's
hail.
wishful
3 or 4 years.
thinking.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Merry Christmas, right?
This runs from, and it starts January 1.
Can you quickly talk, so you said you're looking at potentially different consortium?
So, I don't think it's a consortium, I think it's an insurance firm. And this particular school district went with them and haven't seen rates go up like we have. So it just piqued our curiosity and to have let's see if they're interested in having a conversation with us as a consortium, because it's more regional. It wouldn't be the entire state, and if they would be willing to entertain that, it's worth a conversation at a minimum.
So if you leave music, you can't come back for 3 years?
I'm not sure what that requirement is.
I thought
That
it
sounds
was
kinda
5
right.
years. Oh, it's not.
We have an MAAA consortium, a health consortium, and that's a 5-year.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, but I don't
I'm
know.
not sure about music. I'll
Yeah.
check into that.
But regardless, we need to, can we cancel in March or something? Or if we approve this now,
You can't.
is it far?
I don't think so.
I think you're.
I'm paying, you approve it, I'm paying 472.
Right, and next week it could, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
Let's do
there's other people out there willing to. I mean, it keeps, if then music knows you're shopping sometimes, then they'll be a little.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. And they'll be like, whoa, hold on, we'll work with you.
We'll work with you. When you do that
I would hope they're insured by an insurance company to cover their losses too.
I think they probably have some of those in place, yes.
It
I would
talks
have
in
to.
the packet about reinsurance.
Yeah.
And the cost of that's going up for them.
Yeah.
Again, that sounds like a defense. I am not defending.
Are they for-profit music?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the renewal assessment rate with Missouri United School Insurance Council as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's our old business. On to new business, and the first item on the agenda is annual audit.
And we have with us Miss Rihanna Greer from Besink Hay and Rowe this evening to kind of review the audit with you, and hopefully answer any questions you might have.
Patiently wait.
All right, as I said, I'm Rihanna with Besink Hay, Rowe and Schroeder, and I'm actually the one that is on site for your audit, so I can answer your questions pretty well. For your audit report, it's basically broken down into 4 reports. The first one is our independent auditor's report on page 1. And basically, the most important part of it says your financial statements of the government activities, your component unit, the foundation, and each fund present fairly in all material respects the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses of the district in accordance with the cash basis of the county. So basically, we are saying your books are correct in all material respects. And to put it into even more perspective, we didn't suggest any changes to your books at all. We made one entry just for our report, but your financials that you get monthly are accurate. So that's a big deal to know that what you're looking at is accurate. It goes on to talk about our responsibilities for the audit, management's responsibility, and the board's responsibility. Next is your financial statements and then the notes that go along with them. If you would like me to go over any of that, I can, but knowing that we didn't make any changes, what you already see is accurate. Overall, you had a slight decrease in fund balance of $480,000, which is not much at all. Your general fund balance has an ending balance of $11.8 million, which is roughly 42% of your general and special fund expenditures. And it's recommended to keep that between 25 and 50%. So you guys are setting really well. Next, the next report on page 32 is, it goes over what the state requires us to test. They require you to test certain laws that you guys are in compliance with, such as how you report your attendance, how many bus riders you have, did you publish your financial statements within a month of your board meeting. Certain laws they just want us to make sure you're keeping in check with, and we found nothing wrong. Everything was in compliance with state regulations and law. So we had no issues there. Next, you guys is on page 40 is your yellow book, or we call it yellow book. It's governmental standards. And so, since you guys are a governmental entity, we have to look at your internal controls and your compliance over that. We did not have any issues with your internal control. We did have one instance where the budget was overexpended in both the teachers fund and the capital projects fund. So we just recommend that if you ever are going over your budgeted amounts to amend, and especially amend before the end of the year. Not a big deal. We write this fine themselves often, so just a hey, check this out before the end of the year. Our last one is you guys have spent over $750,000 in federal expenditures, so we are required to test your compliance with the federal government. This year we tested your child nutrition program, It was $816,000 of federal expenditures out of your $1.9 million that you guys have. We had an unmodified report on your compliance, which means that it's a clean report. We don't have any issues. We did have one deficiency in internal control, which is if you spend over $25,000 with one vendor from federal money, you're required to check there's a website to make sure they're not suspended or debarred from doing business with the government. We've checked it. You had 3 vendors. You guys were in compliance. You are doing it, but they did not keep documentation of it. So if you don't keep documentation, we can't give you credit for it. So we're just suggesting to print off, you can print off that says this company is in compliance, and just keep that for your records.
And all 3 companies were in compliance.
Yes, we did check that. You didn't have any compliance issues. It's just a matter of printing that piece of paper for us to look at. I will say that is our most common finding that we write very frequently. So it's not a big deal, just something we have to report that we didn't have. So that is pretty much it. I'd like to thank everybody because your staff is very well to work with. They are great at what they do and very helpful to get us everything we need quickly, timely. I actually enjoy it very much coming up here.
How long were you here?
3 days, I believe, this year.
In terms of the budget, we overexpended on a budget, is that correct?
Yeah, so a lot of that money is from capital projects, and it's going towards Prop SG. So instead of amending to actual in June, we created a new budget. And so that piece is now in place, and so we're going to fix that issue.
Okay, that's what I'm concerned about, fixing it going forward.
Is it second, third year with you now?
Second.
Second.
No, it's just pages. The ones out of there. So the debarment, checking on that debarment, that's something that came up like 5 or 6 years ago, I can't remember. So it's the same thing, we're doing it, we just got to print a
Yeah, it's just,
screenshot or something?
and I can't remember if that was Jordan or before Jordan came here. But I know Jordan, and she's got the piece of paper printed now.
I have to do that with my providers.
She had the list of what she checked. She just didn't have the screen that proved that she did it.
Yeah.
So it's a very small technicality that we looked at.
Do you enjoy doing accounting work for our public schools?
I have to. You guys we have 10 public schools now in Missouri and about 18 Illinois schools, I believe. I enjoy Missouri much more over Illinois.
People do.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Questions I can answer besides that?
I'd like to thank Crystal Roth. She plays a huge role in making sure everything is accurate, holding my feet to the fire. Megan plays a huge role in payroll and everything. They work so well together. And everybody really in district office, Lori Meyer, Brittany Gagg, Aaron Jokers, all jump in to help when they show up. And you never know when they're going to tippy-toe up the steps and knock on your door and say, hey.
Pretty much the last day.
So it's been great working with them. The change has been good.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thank you.
Be safe
Merry
going
Christmas.
home. Always good with you, right?
Yeah.
I'll motion to approve the annual audit for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I think it was 3
I
years.
think it's 3. Yeah, I think we have got one more.
I think it was the first board meeting you and I.
Yeah.
were at.
Next item on the agenda is a bid for fire protection services.
We received 2 bids. Excuse me just a second. We received 2 bids for fire protection services, one from Marmick, one from Cintas. I reviewed these with Davey Carl, our Director of Maintenance, just kind of apples to apples. He recommends, and as do I, that we approve the Marmac Fire and Safety bid. They're a little cheaper on several things. The monthly monitoring per unit is about $9 higher. We've got 5 units, but cheaper than most of the other places. So we would recommend that you go with those.
Who do we have now?
Marmac.
And no issues exist currently.
You know, fire protection services are always difficult because you have to have it to keep kids safe, but you also have to manage the false alarms and all of the things that can contribute to that. So it's never easy. Marmac, for the most part, is really good to deal with and are really responsive when we call them to get out here. I think it's, you know, on the back end when you have to make the firemen get halfway to your facility before you can cancel the alarm, and you don't want them showing up for nothing. But then again, you don't want to ignore an alarm that might be something serious. So yeah, for the most part, Marmac has been good.
3-year contract, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire protection bid from Marmac for a 3-year contract beginning January 1st, 2025.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that wraps up new business. Any personnel changes approved during closed session this evening will be provided in the draft meeting minutes within 72 hours of adjournment. Someone motion to resume closed session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the open session of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the San Diego County R2 School District.
I need a motion to resume closed session. I'm sorry.
Wait,
I'll-
what did I,
It's B.
oh, I clicked on the wrong motion. Jerry does this part.
Yeah. I was like, well, he's gonna do it. Okay, motion to resume. Motion to resume a closed meeting with a closed record and a closed vote for purposes listed in the revised Missouri Statute 610.021. Right.
Second, can I get a second?
Yeah. Eric Boba Eric Bosworth was yes. Jim Bosworth. Golly! All that stuff now.
It's been a long meeting.
Jim Kirchner.
Oh, yes.
Martha Riesinger. Jerry Diesel, yes. Dave Boba.
Yes.
Josh Gettinger.
Yes.
Jamie Ballou.
Yes.
All right.
Merry Christmas and thank you all.
Merry
Christmas.
Thank you all.